What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jerome, and I'm here today with the review for How to Get Away with Murder. This is season 5. This is episode number 6, and it's titled We Can Find Him. So without further ado, let's get the video. All right, you guys. So this episode, it picks up with the wedding reception, and this episode, we're getting a little bit closer to finding out. Well, we're finding out more information about the wedding reception. So with this episode, we see Miller outside of the wedding reception, and we see Miller. He has a box in his hand, and it's a ring box, and it's an engagement ring in there. So it's safe to assume that Miller is wanting to propose to Bonnie. And then we see Miller. He texts Bonnie, and he tells her to come outside because they need to talk. So then we jump forward 1 month later. Well, 1 month later or 1 month in the past, and we're back at Bonnie's sister's, Julie's house. And, you know, Julie is trying to figure out why Bonnie is there. She's like, I already know that dad is dead. And Bonnie's like, that's not why I'm here. She's like, is mom dead? And she says, again, that's not why I'm here. So then, you know, Julie's daughter comes, and that's when Julie introduces Bonnie to her daughter. So then we see Frank. He and he's talking to Annalise, and, you know, they're going back and forth about, you know, Bonnie being out there with Miller and seeing Julie. And Annalise is concerned about Bonnie. And Frank is like, well, you know, she got her boyfriend with her. And again, Annalise is concerned. She doesn't think that Miller is strong enough to help Bonnie through the situation that she's going through, and how he just doesn't understand what she's going through, and how she doesn't feel that Bonnie can handle this, because with her having a daughter, she feels like Bonnie is going to do some stuff that's going to hinder her going forward. All right. And then we see that Bonnie is still with Julie, and she gets a call from Miller. And Miller is trying to figure out why she's, well, actually not Miller. Julie's trying to figure out still, why is Bonnie there? So then Bonnie shows her the photos of her in the hospital. And, you know, Julie comes up with a story that she tells Bonnie. She says that she did take the baby, but then her dad ended up taking the baby back from her, and that he sold the baby, and that, you know, that her dad told her that if she told Bonnie anything, that they would kill her. So then we see Bonnie. She goes and calls Annalise, and she asks if, she asks her if she believes. Annalise asks Bonnie if she believes the story, and Bonnie says that no, but she wants to know more about, you know, Julie. And Annalise says that she thinks Bonnie should leave, and when she tells her that, we do see Julie getting ready to leave, and we see Julie leaving with that kid that we saw in the previous episodes that was outside. The one that Big Nate thought was actually Bonnie's son, that turned out not to be her son. So we see her, and then you know, Miller is talking to Bonnie, and, you know, he's offering to help Bonnie, and Bonnie's like, you know what, I don't need you to help her, because, you know, with you being in the DA's office, if you find anything, and, you know, they dig deeper and find some more stuff into her, that would hurt Julie and Julie's daughter as well. So then Bonnie's walking around the house, and she goes into a closet, and she opens up a box, and there is a gun there, and she's like, you know what, maybe you can help me after all. All right, so then we see Julie. She goes to an AA meeting, and she's telling the group how her sister is in town. And, you know, in the meeting, we also do see that Frank is there, and Frank is recording this, and Julie is talking about how she's kept secrets from Bonnie. So then we see Bonnie. She is asking Julie, why does she have a gun? And, you know, she's telling her, well, you know, I live alone, and I live in a bad part of town, so I need to protect myself and my daughter. And then she also tells her that, you know, if it wasn't for her daughter, she would have blown her brains out by now. I'm like, God damn, like, how morbid can you be? All right, and then we have another scene where we see Frank. He is playing a recording that, you know, he got from the AA meeting to Bonnie. And, you know, he shows Bonnie's, you know, well, he tells Bonnie he did some digging and found out some information about Julie. So what happens is Julie was arrested because she went to the house where where Bonnie's son was, and the family saw her, and again, she was arrested. And then, you know, he says to her, Julie's known all along where your son is. And then he also shows Bonnie a picture of her son. So, you know, this makes you question what all Julie has said to Bonnie up to this point, because she said she knew nothing, and that, you know, her dad sold the baby. And then Bonnie, she's questioning Julie once again, and she just wants to know the truth from Bonnie, not Bonnie, but Julie. And then, she says that her dad was going to keep the baby, but on their way home from the hospital, Julie ended up hopping out of the car, and that she ran, and then she tells Bonnie that she buried the baby. And I'm like, so what is the truth? Because Frank is saying that Julie knew where the kid was, but then Julie is telling Bonnie that she buried the kid, which I think Julie is still lying to Bonnie. But I'm still trying to figure out what is the ulterior motive for Julie to lie to Bonnie. I'm still not getting that. So then later in the episode, we see Bonnie. She and Frank are still in the car, and she gets her cell phone out, and Frank is like, "Who are you calling?" So she calls the police, and she wants to report a tip that there is a unregistered gun in the presence of a child. And Frank takes that phone from Bonnie and tells her, "This is not something that you want to do, because if you do this, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to completely regret what you did." All right, so then we have Connor and Oliver. They are both with their mothers, and they're showing their mothers where they want to get the venue where they want to get married at. And Oliver's mom is not completely here for it. She doesn't even like it. And she's like, well, why don't we look at some other venues? And, they're talking about their budget. They don't have any money, so this is where they have to go get married at. But like I said, Oliver's mother wants to go look at other venues, and Connor's mom is actually in agreement with Oliver's mom. So then we have the kids, well, not the kids, we have Asher. He's with Connor, Oliver, and their mothers. Asher has some fucking mommy issues, because, he's talking to Connor's mom and sitting there talking about, can he call her mom? And I'm like, Asher, you have the biggest mommy issues in the world. So then, Connor's talking about how Oliver's mother hates him. And, she says that she wants him to get married in the church. And ask him why hasn't he asked his dad, who has money, to help him with the wedding. And Connor is like, I just haven't really talked to my dad. He and I are not that close at this point. And then Connor's mom comes in, and she's talking about the bachelor party, and her and Oliver's mom are coming to it thanks to Ash. I'm like, why would you invite their mothers to their bachelor party? Again, Asher has some severe mommy issues. That's the only thing I can say when it comes to Asher. That dude got some problems in his life. All right, so then we got the kids. They are having dinner with the mothers, and this is the first time in a while that they've all had a home cooked meal. So Michaela is talking about that. This is the first time that we've had a good meal. And Oliver's mom is like, so you don't cook for Asher? And that's when Oliver says, Mom, they're not together. And Michaela says that right now, not Michaela, but Laurel says right now, Michaela is, reevaluating if she's really interested in men. And Asher's like, what? And Michaela says, no, I am not. Girl, yes, you are. You are so hung up on Tegan's clit that you can't see a penis for days. Like, shut up, Michaela. So, and Michaela's like, well, Laurel needs to be worried about her, keeping this job here with the clinic because of the case that they have. And then we have Oliver's mother, who is swooning over baby Chris and talking about, Oliver as a baby. So then we get Connor's mother. She comes up to him and she says that Oliver's mom has found another venue, but she just doesn't have the money to pay for it. And basically she's trying to tell Connor to reach out to his dad. And then, basically Connor tells his mother that Oliver is afraid of his mom. And Oliver says, it's not that I'm afraid of my mom. She's just given up and done so much for him that he just wants to please his mother. And then, he and Oliver go and have a conversation to the side. And there's something going on with Oliver. He tells him, basically you have to tell your mama the truth. And Oliver is like, this is just like me coming out again. He says, yes, it is, but you have me by your side this time. All right, so then over at Kaplan and Gold, we see Laurel. She is watching New West like a fucking hawk. And then she gets a phone call from Frank, and Frank is telling Laurel that he's going out of town. And then she asks him, why did you keep it a secret for so long? And, once he hangs up the call with her, Michaela comes up, and Michaela, comes in and asks her, what do you think we're doing today? Because Annalise is not here. So then Tegan comes into the office, and she's telling them that, Annalise is not there. And she's telling them about the case, the client that they're dealing with today. And I think it was a weight loss thing. I can't remember. So, Michaela wants to be number 2 to Tegan, but Tegan's like, you know what, Miss Castillo, you'll be number 2. And I'm like, God dang, Tegan. And that kind of, you can look at Michaela's face. Michaela wants, I don't know if it's Michaela has a mommy issue when it comes to Tegan, or if Michaela has a sexual thing when it comes to Tegan. I really can't tell you. Like I get confused when I look at Michaela and Tegan. Not Tegan, but just Michaela, how she looks at Tegan. So then, still at Kaplan and Gold, we see the kids, they are watching this commercial for the client that they're defending. And then, Laurel gives her pitch to Tegan. Tegan does not like that pitch at all. And she tells her, and then, Michaela chimes in and says something. And then Tegan is like, you know what? You guys have 24 hours to come back to me with 5 different pitches. So then we have New West. He goes up to Laurel and he offers to help Laurel. And Laurel's like, no. And I'm like, girl, why are you acting like this? Like, you the one who went digging and found some information from Frank. Like, if you minded your own business, you probably would have never knew. So then back at Kaplan and Gold, Laurel is once again giving her new spiel to her new pitch to Tegan. And this time Tegan actually likes the pitch that she's given to her. And, Laurel gives compliments to Michaela for helping her. And, New West tells them, hey, good job. And that, he'll toast to them at the Bachelor Party. And they're like, the Bachelor Party? Who invited you? He's like, Asher invited me. And Michaela's like, when did he become friends with Asher? Same thing I'm wondering. Like, Asher has, but at this point, Asher has no friends. So shit, who the hell is he going to invite? So then we see Tegan. She goes to give the pitch to Emmett. And, she needs his approval so that she can go to the clients and get them to settle. And then she mentions Annalise and saying that, they can't lose Annalise. And basically she wants Emmett to beg and grovel to keep Annalise there. All right. So then we have this scene where Oliver's going suit shopping with his mom. And, she asked him what happened with his last job. Everything in his life has changed, how he doesn't communicate with her as much. And she feels like it's because Connor is so bossy. And, Oliver telling her, what, Mom, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. He says, then he finally opens up to his mother. He tells her, Mom, I'm HIV positive. And, that's the reason why I've kind of taken a step back from you. He was like, because I'm kind of ashamed. I've been ashamed because he says, when I came out to you, you told me to be safe. And I knew what you meant by be safe. We have sex, wear a condom. So he knew exactly what his mom meant. And he just, like I said, he just felt ashamed that now he has HIV and he is undetectable, but he just feels, embarrassed, ashamed, and like he couldn't tell his mother. But his mom does say, what? I'm going to be here for you to the day that I die. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Although I can't stand Oliver sometimes, but I really did like that. So then we have this scene where Connor is talking with Oliver's mom, and she's showing him this wedding book that Oliver put together as a kid. And, she's like, when my son came out to me, I knew that, this book here, he was never going to have a wedding like that. And, she's opening up to Connor and she is softening up to him. And then, she's still saying, I would prefer to if the wedding was at a church. All right. And then we have the bachelor party. So we see all of them. They're having a good time. And then we see Connor. He goes and calls his dad. And, he leaves a message for his dad because he didn't actually get to talk to him over the phone. So then we see New West. He goes up to Laurel and he basically busted Laurel's fucking bubble, telling Laurel, what, Laurel, I know things have been a little odd between us lately, but I want to let you know that I'm not interested in you like that. I'm like, well, damn, he busted her ass. And then, he tells Laurel how he knew about West. And she was like, well, if you knew about West, why did you ask me the questions about, Christopher's dad being in his life? And he was like, well, I just didn't want to look like a creepy stalker. And then out of nowhere, Laurel gets upset and says, what, don't talk to me anymore. I'm like, Laurel, who really wants to talk to you? Like, you're annoying as fuck, just like Michaela, but whatever, Laurel, fuck out of here. All right, so now I'm gonna move over to Annalise. So we have Annalise. She goes to the governor, and the governor is telling Annalise that she wants Annalise to come and work for her after, getting her ass kicked so many times by Annalise in court. And what it is she's created a fair defense project that she wants Annalise to be the head of. And she wants to create a bill, so that they can reduce the prison population by 50%. And then she tells Annalise that she will, get her out of her contract with Kaplan and Gold, and that she wants the students from the clinic to come and work for her. And I'm like, Annalise, do not trust that bitch. It's like something is off with her. So then we see Annalise. She is looking over what the governor has given to her, and then Emmett comes into her office, and Emmett comes in there. He's a bit upset, and he tells Annalise that someone that works for the governor's office told him about what's going on. And Annalise says, she didn't know what the governor wanted when she went and met with her. And again, he is yelling at Annalise, and there are people out there in the area that can see them. And he's talking about how, if she leaves, he'll sue her. And she was like, well, if you sue me, I'm going to come after you. And she's like, I'm pretty sure those people out there are witnesses to what's going on in here. But she says that she hasn't, made a decision at this point. And that once she does make a decision, she will let him know. All right, so then we have Big Nate. He is at the prison. He's talking to Little Nate. And, basically now that the trial is over, Little Nate has made it up in his mind that he wants to sit down and he wants to write the family of his victim. His name is Gerald. Coincidentally, that's my name, first name. But he wants to write the family, and he just wants to kind of, I guess, free his conscience and put everything out there. So then we see Big Nate. He goes and he's talking to Annalise, and before he can talk to Annalise about anything, he's asking Annalise how was Bonnie. And he says, can he do anything to help her? And she's like, what, Frank is there, and he's got this taken care of. So then he tells her that his dad wants to write a letter to the family and that he needs an address. And then, she tells him about the offer that the governor extended to her. And, he asks her, well, do you think you can trust her? And she says, I don't trust anybody. So then we see in Annalise's office, she is listening to the recording that Frank got of Julie. And, she's telling Frank to do whatever he wants to do with that recording. And he's like, yeah, she says to do whatever he wants to do with the recording. So then we also see that Annalise is still looking over this offer that the governor gave to her. All right, so back at Kaplan and Gold, we see Emmett. He goes to Annalise's office, and he's telling Annalise that he has gone over the governor's offer, and he's telling her why she should not take that offer. So then we see Annalise, she calls the governor, and she has an issue. She points out the issue that Emmett mentioned to her, and the issue was the budget. And, Annalise says how she wants a set budget, and she wants, a pardon for little Nate because, he wants to live with his son. So then the governor's like, okay, she'll see what she can do. She'll go talk to the board and see if she can get anything done with this. So then we see Big Nate. He is talking to Miller, and Miller has gotten some information for Big Nate, and he's telling him where his dad is going to be transferred to and he's asking Miller about Bonnie, and he's Miller tells Big Nate that Bonnie has the flu, but she'll be okay. So then Emmett goes to Annalise's office, and this time he's in a completely different space. He's a lot calmer this time, and he tells her that she tells him that she's considering taking the governor's deal because the governor is willing to pardon little Nate. And, he says that he admires her, basically trying to butter her up and trying to keep her at Kaplan and Gold. And then he tells her that the deal that the governor has for her is basically a sham. And then, he opens up to her about that case that he has against him. And he says it was really that he fell in love with a client that he thought was in love with him, but now it's a file. And it was basically the partner's way of protecting the company and themselves, and he's begging Annalise to stay and not go. All right, and lastly, so we have Annalise. She goes to the governor's office, and she turns the governor down, and she turns the governor's offering down, saying that she doesn't trust her. But then the governor says that she did get the board to agree to pardon little Nate, and she says the only way that she's going to get that done is if Annalise takes the job. So then we jump over to Big Nate. He is with little Nate, and he's telling him that he got bumped up and he's being moved that night. And, he gives him the information for the guy that he killed, Gerald, his brother. So then we have this scene where little Nate is, narrating the letter that he's writing to this man's brother. So then we have Annalise. She is with Emmett, and, she's telling Emmett that she's going to take the offer from the governor because, she's pardoning little Nate. And this is actually the case that, got her career back. So she really just can't turn this down at this point. And then we see Annalise. She goes over to Big Nate's house, and she's telling him that his dad will be pardoned in a week once the paperwork is cleared. So then we see Nate calling his dad, and we see a guard go to Little Nate's cell, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm like, something bad is about to happen in this scene, because he's been transported to the new facility that he's going to. So then we have a woman come on the phone, and she tells Big Nate that something happened, and he's like, what do you mean something happened? And then we go to the jail, and there is Little Nate on, we see a puddle of blood and that letter that he was writing. And then the camera goes up, and we see Little Nate. He is dead. Someone shot him in the head. And I'm like, I feel like this was a setup by the governor. That's how I feel. I don't know if anybody feels that way, but I just feel like the governor set this up. So that was the episode, and we have one episode left until the winter finale of How to Get Away with Murder. Like the video, leave your comments, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later.